At halftime in life, will you keep playing small or redesign the second half into something extraordinary? Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a podcast helping women in career and life transitions achieve clarity on their next steps so they can transform uncertainty into an energizing next chapter. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of It's My Time Now Coaching. If you're wondering what's next in your career or life, you are in the right place. Through solo and guest episodes, you'll gain practical tips, tools, and inspiration to help you uncover blocks, gain confidence, and be, do, and have what you want. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, where we explore what it really means to rediscover yourself, your voice, your purpose, and your next steps. Today, I'm thrilled to share my conversation with Susie Hall, award-winning designer, entrepreneur, and author of Blessed Disruption. After a life-altering halftime moment, Susie transformed trauma into triumph, and she now helps others break free from limitations and design the life of their dreams. In this episode, you'll discover a fresh perspective on resilience, authenticity, and the courage to face disruption as an opportunity for reinvention. So hit play now, and don't forget to stay till the end for the key takeaways. Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, where we truly explore what it means to rediscover yourself, your voice, your purpose, and your next steps. Through powerful stories and expert insights, you'll be inspired to create your next chapter of your life with confidence and with clarity. This week, I'm especially thrilled to have on the show Susie Hall. Susie is an award-winning interior designer, successful entrepreneur, and founder of 4 companies. After facing a life-altering halftime event, Susie embraced the power of personal transformation, overcame deep-seated traumas, and redefined her life's purpose. Today, Susie is a sought-after speaker who captivates audiences with her vulnerability, strength, and wisdom. And she's passionate about helping others break free from limitations and design the life of their dreams. Her journey of resilience and self-discovery is powerfully captured in her debut memoir, Blessed Disruption: Transforming Trauma into Triumph. I love that title. That sounds amazing. Welcome to the show, Susie. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you, Kavita. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
I was really captivated by your story, and for people who are listening, maybe you could tell us a little bit about that. And also, one of the things is many of the listeners who are listening to this podcast, they may be at some kind of a crossroads in their life, right? But maybe they just can't name it, or they're not really sure what that is. Mm-hmm. And you've described a moment, and I referred to it in the introduction as kind of your halftime moment, which was in your 50s, that kind of made you re-examine everything. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that and what led up to that wake-up moment that you had, and perhaps somebody who's listening who may be going through similar things, recognize those moments, and act upon them.
Sure. And for a little bit of context, I grew up the daughter of a major college football coach, and that was a really big way to grow up. So there's strong football themes throughout my book because that's actually how I think. And I think that's what helped me shape me into being a leader and an entrepreneur and all the things. And so halftime for me is a significant metaphor in life, because at the halftime of any game, whether it's football or a different sport, that's when I'm just going to use football as an example. That's when you go back into the locker room and you huddle up and you reassess. And if you're winning the game, you're fine tuning. If you're losing the game, you're making major adjustments, and the coaches are helping talking to the players, looking at the team. And you have about 15 or 20 minutes to do that and then go back out and play the second half of your life. So I think for the listeners, women especially, when we reach mid-age, a lot of times we think that we're kind of done or we're kind of coasting or we're kind of not sure if there's anything else out there for us. And without giving too much of my story away, I got to a point where my second marriage collapsed and I
Mhm.
found myself at the lowest point of my life. And that was in 2012. I had three children at home. I was running a business and I thought my fairy tale was just going to keep going because it really felt like a fairy tale, even though there were hard times and ups and downs. And the halftime, when that happened, I call that unintentional disruption. It's not anything I chose, but it
Mhm.
happened.
Right.
And that caused me to say, okay, push the pause button. This is my halftime. I need to take the time to assess myself and assess my life.
Hmm. I love that metaphor. That's so true. Like if you think about it, because it depends on how the first half is going, right? And then it's like, okay, well, let's in both ways, whether it's going well or not. You still have to look at that and readjust. And as you said, if it's going well, fine tune it. But if it's not going well, it's like, how do we maybe drastically even shift gears? So I
Yeah.
love
And
that.
for me, I took a long look around because I was hit rock bottom and I asked myself a question. And I've learned through my 10-year transformation journey, which I write about in my book, I've learned the better questions we ask ourselves and other people, the better information and the better value we gain from the
Hmm.
responses. So I took the time to ask myself some basic questions like, is this the kind of life I want? Am I the person I want to be in my life? Are there things that I want to change? And what does my dream life look like?
Hmm.
And those four questions really allowed me to determine that I wanted better.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that was a big decision because
Yes.
I was done playing small.
Yes. Actually, that leads right into what I thought we'd discuss now is that you do mention that playing small isn't an option when your life's on the line. And I talk a lot about transitions and like as you mentioned, transitions start with a trigger and those can be unexpected, like you mentioned, like they could be like a divorce, layoff. Those things just we don't choose them, right? But other times we can choose them. So how do we kind of take charge in these moments and when these transitions or disruptions happen, how can we turn them into something really from being really scary into something maybe more positive or kind of more in a reinvention of ourselves and what are some maybe some first steps that we can take based on your experience?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things I learned at that moment, at that halftime of my life, is how empty I was inside because I was doing all the things. I was living by my calendar, by my to-do list. I was running on that treadmill, trying to keep all the plates spinning. I
Mhm.
had three kids and five sports, running a business. My husband was running a business. I mean, there were a lot of plates in the air. And what that did for me is it took all my energy and it took my sense of well-being and my purpose and my alignment. And so when we are hit or blindsided, that's one of my chapters in my book, when we're blindsided, if we're not if we're not rooted and grounded and confident in ourselves, no matter what happens, then that's going to knock us over. And that's what happened to me.
Mhm.
And through 10 years of the personal transformation journey is how I built the strength and the resilience and the awareness. I know we're going to talk about that so that one, when unintentional disruption happens now, that's the title of my book. I call them blessed disruptions
Mhm.
because we all have blessed disruptions every day. And blessed is a way of looking at the disruptions rather than annoying or
Mhm.
critiquing or saying, why me, poor me, playing the victim. I used to be really good at that. And then it also gives us the strength to choose intentional disruption. And those are disruptions that we do choose. And those are really exciting.
I love that. When you said that the disruption, the blessed disruption, if you look at it, I think it's the way we view it, right? And it's almost as though if you view it as a gift in a way, like, okay, this happened. This happened to me, or I made it happen. And maybe even asking the question, why? Like,
Mm.
why did this happen? That is like the second part of a transition where you go from that trigger into looking at why did this trigger happen? And that is like, I know you said it, it took 10 years. It doesn't have to take that long. I mean, it took me a long
Exactly.
time
That's why I
too.
wrote the book. It's to help other people.
I know, right? So that's what we're trying to help others who've gone through it. But yeah, I think that's those questions, like you mentioned, those 4 questions that you mentioned earlier, those are really important questions to understand the why of why these disruptions happen. And so, Susie, you talked a little bit about something called the SPT framework. So it's a framework, I believe, for turning trauma into triumph. And
Mhm.
maybe you could, I know maybe we don't have time to walk through all of it, but maybe
Yeah.
one or two of those key stairs or steps on the staircase, especially if we're talking about women who could be listening, who are maybe in mid-career and maybe they tend to skip some of these steps. And what would be some examples or exercises that they could do too?
Yeah, and I think that's human nature, right? We want to skip ahead. We want to kind of skip the work and get to the next point, especially in our society today where we're getting so much instant information and gratification. And
Yes.
the SPT stands for the Staircase of Personal Transformation. And I'll be going into it in detail in the companion playbook I plan to release in the next 2 months. And that's really the how to of what I did that worked. In my memoir, you'll read about some things that didn't work. And so I know that for me, when I was going through my journey, what helped me was hearing other people's stories
Mm-hmm.
and hearing how they transformed and pivoted from transitions and all of that. So the staircase of personal transformation is the amalgamation of everything I did using the tools and coaching from others, which is so important, and then putting it into a concrete step by step that for me, I like to have graphics and quotes. I'm a visual person, I'm a designer. So I like having something that I can refer to. In my book, I write a lot about the foundation of faith, which I think we're going to touch on. So, the first step that is so important that I didn't know how to do is awareness. And if we want to change something, if we're not aware, how can we change?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And once we become aware, can be a process, it can be quick, it can be lengthy, then we're equipped with seeing our own blind spots, seeing what others are giving us feedback on. With that awareness, then we can move into desire and commitment. And I just listened to a great Mel Robbins podcast over the weekend, and her guest, he's a producer. I can't recall his name right now, but he was saying a lot of the same themes that I write about in the book. And one of them is go all in. When you're ready to do something, go all in. Don't just tiptoe around it. Don't just say, well, maybe this will work. I think this sounds good, or I'm just going to skip the steps and hope I get to the top. Uh-uh.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the work and having that desire and commitment day in and day out, that's where the magic happens. And the desire in my case came from hitting rock bottom. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted different. I wanted different for myself, for my kids, for my life. So tapping into that desire and commitment is really key.
Yeah. So you would say that of the two, like so you'd say the awareness is a big piece, as you were saying, and
The
then
first step.
commitment and desire. So I agree with those. I would say that I think based on my experience, my own experience and working with so many women, is that commitment and desire is a thing that sometimes we get thrown off by our fears.
Mm.
It's like, what happens if it's too late? I don't know if I can do this. And it could be fear of judgment, of our own lack of qualifications, if we want to do something new. So maybe we could talk about that when and you say in your book and we spoke about it, is that when you have that faith over fear, when a person is going through this and they want to do these things, they are aware but they want to do these things but they're stopped by fear, how would you advise them, or what would you say based on your experience?
Yeah. And that goes back to filling yourself, filling ourselves full. And for me, I have a spiritual practice that early in my life felt really distant, and it became very connected and my own during this journey.
Mm-hmm.
And having a spiritual, faith filled, whatever that looks like for people, that helps fill us up and it grounds us and it gives us purpose in every day. Starting our mornings that way, I have a tool called the Morning Groove, Susie's Morning Groove, which I can send you. It's a downloadable PDF. I think it's on my website. And the biggest game changer for me came from beginning that morning groove, connecting to my divine self, spending time meditating, quiet, prayer, reading, all of those things, so
Mm-hmm.
that I can listen and I can let the thoughts come in and float out and grab onto those that I knew would carry me forward, propel me forward. And faith to me transcends everything. And we can have faith and still be fearful. I think that's an important distinction. It's okay to still feel fearful. My first EO talk, which is a TED Talk style talk, was called Feel Your Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yeah.
Because I used to be deathly afraid. And in my book, I write about how I thought I was going to be a newscaster in college. And I did an internship and I talked myself out of it
Hmm.
because I was afraid. And that happens all the time. The way to get through that is to learn how to feel our fear and do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And when we can embrace uncertainty and not knowing how things are going to turn out and not being tied to the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
that's where freedom happens. And helping to teach my children that was quite a process. And now it's a joy to see them thriving in the world, feeling that they're free to do and try anything they want because they have that faith. They have that faith in themselves and they have that faith
Mm-hmm.
in God and higher power, whatever you want to call it. And so that's the foundation. That's the foundation that the staircase is built on.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to choose faith because if it's forced on us, it just, at least how I believe, it won't really grab hold the way that it's meant to.
Mm-hmm. Firstly, I love the name Morning Groove. That's awesome.
I like to dance.
And
So
yeah,
yeah.
it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Get in the groove. Get in the groove. And I think it can be personalized to an individual. And I know, I mean, I've had so many people who've been in your seat and who've told me this, and there's different ways of getting into that groove. For me, it is meditation and doing some form of exercise and writing, listening to some inspiring podcasts or whatever. So you take your time to do that. And I often say for women who I'm coaching, for example, it's like, well, oh, I'm just so busy. I'm so busy. Well, you need to take that. Even if you wake up half an hour early, you need
Yes.
to take the time for yourself to get, because that starts your day off, or even if you do it at night, like it
Mhm.
creates that positive energy. And I love when you said that, well, feeling the fear, that I say, have your fear fuel you forward rather than stop you, right? And also not being tied to the outcome. I think that's a really important piece, because when we're not, when we just do things that we know in our heart that we have to do and not be tied to, oh, if the outcome, then the fear really goes away, or at least it's lessened in my experience. It's like we're going
Yeah.
to try it anyway. And I always say to myself, everything always works out for me. Everything always
Yeah.
works out for me. It's just kind of an
Mhm.
affirmation and a belief that in some way or the other, everything will work out.
One
So,
last thing on the feeling your fear, like learning the difference between anxiety and adrenaline for me was
hmm
really key because they're different emotions, but they show up in my body very similarly.
hmm,
And adrenaline is a really good thing usually. And anxiety can be used for certain things, but it's not a great state to live in. And I write about that in my book. So the
yes.
more that we can get clear and understand what the emotions are and how our body is giving us clues,
hmm
that's really transformational and that's
hmm
ongoing. I'm always learning things about myself and like, that doesn't feel good. What is it? Why doesn't it feel good? And then being curious enough about it to
hmm
to pursue that.
Yes. Yeah, there's a technique that's actually really because you can tap into that throughout the day or even in moments. Like there's a technique that I've been trained in called the Hale method, which is honoring and your emotions, like and actually asking yourself, why is this emotion present and what can I learn from it? So that's the
Yes.
acronym, right? And I think that's similar to what you're saying is like, was it why am I feeling? Am I anxious or is this just I'm just really excited?
Right,
Right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
So
And the journaling that you mentioned, I include 10 years of journaling. I include really unedited raw journal entries from that 10-year period in my life because when we journal, as you know, we get connected to ourselves and our emotions. And then when we journal with intention about
mhm.
what we want and we bring in affirmations, then we're designing our life. And so
Yes.
for me to read back now and for them to be in my book and to be living that life is pretty remarkable. And that's part of the message I want to share is it's possible, even in our mid age.
Hmm. That's absolutely true. You talked about designing your life, and you are a designer, an interior designer,
Yeah.
and so as a designer, you create beautiful environments and for externally. So, what would you say would be one maybe principle or one lesson based on your interior designing that can we can transfer into our internal life to design our internal life or especially when we're going through these transitions, right?
Yeah.
So maybe some design tips.
Sure.
Yeah.
First design tip is for it to be for the design to be authentic, no matter what it is. If it's a space, if it's your life, if it's a relationship, start with authenticity and then simplify. Don't try to add all these embellishments on right off the bat. And I have a lot going on behind myself on the bookshelves intentionally. But when you're designing and you're starting with a new space, I'll just use that example. We have a floor and we have walls and we have a ceiling. And then we determine windows and we determine views. And so it's layered. And as we're designing our lives, understanding which layers are most important. A lot of people want to jump to paint colors or they want to jump to fabrics or they want to jump to a piece of art. Now, art's a little bit different. It is very personal, and a piece of art can actually inspire a whole design. But really identifying what the pillars are, the authenticity of our lives, and then building out upon that. For me, family photos were really key. And going through what I went through, and then at my halftime, keeping those photos surrounding me where I could see them and honor what I was building was very, very important. For others, it could be having a Zen room. It could be having a very relaxing garden. It could be planting a beautiful rose garden and spending time out there meditating and cutting stems and arranging them in vases, whatever that is, it doesn't
Hmm.
have to be big, is my point. The design, when it's authentic and it's genuine and it's designed purposefully
Hmm.
with intention, knowing what we're after. A lot of people ask me, I'm a hotel designer, so I don't watch HGTV. I don't do any of that, but people will ask me what I think about it. And I'm like, what? I don't watch it much, but is that what you want? Is that your style? Or are you just watching it to get ideas and then copy it? If that's
Yeah.
the case, that doesn't feel as authentic, right?
Right.
So when
Right.
I work with clients, I want to hear from them. What's your life about? What's your hotel about? What are the experiences? What are the feelings and the experiences that you want people to have as they're spending time at your hotel?
Mm.
Versus, oh, I just saw this show and I want to do the blue and the white and the lap siding or whatever it is. That's not
Yeah.
authentic.
That's really interesting because you were talking about when you talk to your clients and you ask them what kind of experience do you want your clients to have or the feelings when they come into the space and I would also imagine it would be like how would you want some like what's the future vision or something, right?
Mhm.
So that's very similar to how as coaches for individuals, those are the same questions we ask is like, what is it that you're feeling right now? And what have experiences have led you to this? And how do you want to design your life moving forward? Like, what is your vision? So it's kind of an interesting parallel. And I love that because unless you're authentic and really true to yourself, then you're designing your next chapter won't stick. You know what I mean? Like, unless you really answer those questions in that interim phase that you mentioned earlier with honesty, and then design your life according to the answers. You could put in like interim measures, like maybe I'll change jobs, or I'll move cities, and everything will get fixed. But really, unless and until you answer those deep questions, is this really what I want? Then that move or that new job won't take. And I'm sure that even and as you're designing hotels, you have that feeling when you go into different places. Like I do for sure. It's like, wow, this place is amazing. It just makes you feel so good, right?
It has soul. It
It
has
has,
soul.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
Yes.
you can feel it, right? When it has soul.
Absolutely.
And I write about the first section in my book is called The Show, and how I lived my life until my mid 30s, all in the show. It was all about the external, how everything looked.
Hmm.
And over the course of events that happened and what I chose, living outside of the show, living internally and connected and authentically and purposefully is just remarkably different. And so what you were saying earlier, working with your clients, getting us all to slow down, to enjoy life, give ourselves 5 minutes to think, to breathe, and not just go, go, go and have our value and our self-worth rest on our accomplishments and our achievements and all the things, right?
Yes, yes.
And I think so many of us as we reach this stage of our lives, we're like, oh, did I miss something?
Yeah, yeah.
What did
When
I
did that happen?
Yeah, right?
How did I get here? Yeah, I think the main theme is really that, yeah, you can design the life. I mean, it's not too late.
Mhm.
You can design your life, whether you're actually a designer or not, like in the way that really puts together both the external and the internal. Is there anything from your book or anything else that you might want to just kind of share with the audience about women who are going through these transitions that
Oh,
maybe we
yeah.
didn't touch on?
So many things. I encourage us all to surround ourselves with the people and the environments that are meaningful and purposeful. There's a famous thought leader that says you're the average or the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, including yourself. Well, I
Hmm.
think I added yourself because I didn't think I added a lot of value to my life back then. So
Right.
I needed to up my game. And then surrounding ourselves in environments that fill our souls, like we were just talking about.
Hmm.
I have several spaces where I live and in my daily life that fill my soul, including spending time with my little 1-year-old granddaughter, right? It's
Oh,
like,
how nice.
I used to be so disconnected that if I was spending time with someone, I'd be thinking about a million things I had to do. What was the next on the list? And what was this? Am I going to get caught in traffic? Am I going to miss this appointment? When the mind stops doing that, it creates so much more space and room for us to cherish and flourish in our lives.
Hmm.
And that just doesn't happen by snapping your fingers. That is intentional. And clearing space is another key. If we're constantly bombarded with social media and TV and gossip and what I call low level inputs, then how can we expect our lives to be these big, beautiful masterpieces, right?
Yes. Yes.
So once we clear those kind of low level inputs,
Mm.
and allow for quality time with loved ones, reading, learning, exercising, spending time in nature, traveling with family. You can write a whole list for yourself in 5 or 10
Yes.
of those things and then focus on those.
Yes.
Really important to design our lives around. And sharing my story is I'm here to say it can be done.
Mm.
It's possible. I didn't think it was back in
Yes.
2012, but it is. And
Yes.
it's ongoing. And so I give a talk called Light Up the Scoreboard of Your Life. And if you're looking at the scoreboard of your life and you're like, well, I don't really know what that means, or I don't know where I am, encourage people listening to really take some time and journal about it and
Hmm.
write about it. If it's not what you want, including your space, your relationships, your job, your career, your weight, whatever it might be, then start implementing change. And one of my favorite thought leaders, and he endorsed my book. I was so blessed by that. His name is Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He's an organizational psychologist, and he has he has a great YouTube channel,
Yes.
so much great content, but he talks about a concept, and I don't think he came up with it, but he talks about a concept called being psychologically flexible. What that means is as we're going through and we've designed our life and we're doing things and something happens,
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to it because maybe what we're going toward needs to shift a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. So
Yeah.
being flexible psychologically is important. I didn't used to be able to do that at all. I needed to
Mm.
go away,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
forward,
Yeah.
forward, forward. Yep.
Yeah. That I love that because when you are like lighting up the scoreboard of your life, is that what you said? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
when we are in tune with clearing that space and all those things that you mentioned, I don't know about you, but probably this happened to you, but things just come to you, people come to you, circumstances come to you, but you have to be aware and accepting of them because sometimes people like ironic things will happen. And sometimes if you're not in that awareness space, you may just forget, you may not even realize it. But that's like the kind of the universe telling you that, okay, you need to pay attention because I brought this to you. And yeah, so you may have to be flexible and that you may have a plan, but then something out of the blue comes and then it's like, oh, why did that happen? Maybe there's a
Right.
reason that happened, or
Right.
that person came into my life, or I got that phone call or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's about
Maybe you have
paying
a
attention.
conversation that you listen,
Exactly.
and then you're like,
Yes.
oh, yeah, there's validity to that. I should consider.
Yes.
But you're
Yes,
exactly
exactly.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Things come to us when we open up that space and
Yes.
we're open to receiving. And I've had that happen so many times, especially in
Yes.
the past year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. It's which is great. Well, this has been so wonderful, Susie. Thank you so much. And I would encourage our listeners to definitely get your book and tell us about that. I know you've launched it. Tell us how we can
Mhm.
find it, what else you're up to, where we can find you, and all those juicy things.
Yes. So easiest way to find me is to go to my website, which is suziehall.com, SUZIEHALL.com.
Mhm.
There's a page called Blessed Disruption. There's a link on there. You can order the book in various formats. I'm also on social media. LinkedIn is my name. You can just search my name, but it's Susie Hall 22 on Instagram and Facebook. I post content there. And I hope to write an anthology. Think about the series Chicken Soup for the Soul. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Those
yes, absolutely. Uh-huh.
So I've been encouraged to, as I shared my vision with different coaches and people that have helped me along the way, which I highly encourage. When we think about our thinking, exponential things happen. And so I would love to write an anthology, a compilation of readers sharing their transformation stories back with me so that I can compile it into a book and share it with the world. So
Hmm.
this is the first step. This is my story. And I hope that it opens up space in readers and they start taking action. They get my playbook, hopefully, when that comes out in a couple of months, or they might already have things that they're working on. And
Hmm.
then just go to my website, send me an email and share with me a win that you've had in your life because you chose transformation. It can be small, it can be big. And I hope to release that by the end of 2026.
Congratulations for firstly for the book and for your own transformation and for sharing what you've learned with so many people, and the tools and the tips that you've shared today have been fabulous. So,
Well, thank you
you
so
know,
much. Thank you for what you're doing. As we all share and have these conversations, we hear similar themes, right?
yes,
And then we start paying attention and intending for transformation and considering our disruptions as blessings and
absolutely.
what we choose to do with them.
Thank you so much for your wisdom today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Kavita. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure.
What an inspiring conversation with Susie Hall. A few things really stood out for me. First, the idea of halftime. That moment in midlife when we pause, reassess, and decide how we want the second half of our life to unfold. Second is her reminder that awareness, desire, and commitment are the essential steps in transformation, and that fear doesn't have to stop us, it can fuel us forward. And finally, the beautiful truth that we can design our lives with authenticity and intention, just as we might design a meaningful space. If you're listening today and find yourself at your own halftime moment, I'd love to support you in designing your next chapter with clarity and confidence. Book a deep dive breakthrough call with me. The link is in the show notes. This is your opportunity to discuss your challenges, your dreams, and fears in a safe and confidential space, and receive unbiased and experienced feedback on how to move forward with positivity. Until next time, my friend, remember, your disruptions may just be the blessings that guide you towards your reinvention.